a random live because I came from work and I had some like interesting conversations, and I realized in my previous live with my book, this is Vicky. She loves me so much, she has to be in my space at all times. That I didn't actually go into any actual relationship stuff. And so this one can be more randomly about relationships, sporadically, as that's what I'm interested in, or I like to talk about randomly with people, or like to coach through or give advice with. And someone at the gym was asking me if I was on dating apps, or what is my take on that, or I guess because it's very unsuccessful, or maybe recently dating apps are like a cesspool of attention seekers and people who are really lonely, and you have to just really be able to filter through who, you know, is a good match or not, and not really get too caught up with the facade of what people choose to post on there to, you know, attract someone, or what they write, you know, on their little profile resume to hopefully, you know, catch the attention of someone who's like a worthy potential. And especially if you've had unsuccessful dating relationships and partnerships. And if this is a pattern, so you have to, you know, start recognizing your patterns, being aware of, you know, what are you taking interest in first? What are your priorities? Why are you seeking out a relationship? You know, what are your intentions, short-term and long-term? And that will help you kind of weed out what kind of questions to ask, what do you care about most, and the type of people, sorry, the type of people that you're going to be interested in. Oh, hello, random people. So if you missed the first part, it will eventually load up. This is going to be a random relationship rant. You know, it's just going to be random about dating and online dating, basically, or how to choose potential partners if it's like unsuccessful. Hello. So I'm going to continue. I'm not going to get distracted with, you know, my visitors. But I realized in my other live, trying to talk about my book, that I didn't really go into relationships, and I had a random long conversation with one of the people in the gym who was seeking advice, and I'm going to kind of try and regurgitate what I was explaining to him in how to seek a potential partner. So you have to know what you're actually seeking or wanting to, you know, in the long run. What are your goals, basically? Do you want someone short term or long term? And what does that look like? What does happiness look like for you? And being able to hold strong in those values, and being able to weed out earlier on in the process of dating whether that is for you or not. And sometimes it's really hard to get over the lustful feelings of romance and dating and, you know, attractiveness first. And, you know, that can really put the blinders on us. And but being able to ask the right questions in the beginning will kind of save you a lot of heartache in the long run. So what I was trying to explain to him is, this is Yuki. So cute. Yeah, I know. Is if you see a pattern Like if you're just looking at looks first, or someone's job, how much income debt do they have? I think with him in particular, he was trying to seek out someone who looked really attractive, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that, but if you only look at that and then you kind of almost like give yourself away or give your self-respect away, and to a point where you're kind of overgiving or overspending a little bit too soon and not actually taking the time to get to know this person who might present themselves in a certain way, but their behaviors and actions might not align in the long term, you're going to find yourself really disappointed or feeling used, and, that happens with everyone, male, female, whatever, like any gender can do it. You can't just like put people in a box like that. But being able to ask the questions like, do you want kids? Do you believe in marriage? What did your childhood look like? What did your parents do and not do? Did they speak? Did they communicate? How did they fight? Or did they just kind of keep the peace and not talk to each other because it's more expensive to get divorced and pay child support than it is to just stay together, combining each other's income, but not necessarily liking each other, respecting each other. So kind of what did you see growing up, and are there any dysfunctions or distortions in how you perceive what a family looks like? And everyone is going to have their own personal perspective with that. Yes. So, what else? Any random questions? No. What else did he say? Because anybody can kind of get a credit card and make themselves look a certain way, doll their hair up, get false eyelashes, dress a certain way. But that doesn't always mean that they're financially secure. And it can go vice versa. Like someone can spend a lot of money on you, spoil you, take you on a lot of dates, but maybe that's going to stress you out. Like that's the way they normally spend, but they don't actually have enough money to spend on things like that. Like it kind of shows what do they value when it comes to finance. If financial security is something that you find important, like noticing people's spending habits, what do they choose to spend on first opposed to other things, or are they willing to kind of suffer a little bit in exchange for a long-term goal? These are things that you not only have to ask the person, because sometimes people will say that to kind of woo you and get you kind of hooked on them, and then they don't really follow through, or they'll end up ghosting you. And I've seen people who they even seem like they're very successful, they're financially independent, they make a lot of money, they own their own businesses, they look good, they're physically attractive, and they get with someone, have like a girlfriend or boyfriend, I mean, it can go whatever way, even have a child with them, and then randomly, a year or 2, 3 years down the road, they basically abandon the person and say, you deserve someone better than me. I'm a bad boyfriend or whatever. And they just kind of drop out. So kind of knowing someone's childhood and any insecurities before you really get kind of tied down with someone financially, and especially if you have a kid, is really important. So those are really important things to help prevent kind of getting into situations where, you know, it's going to be a lot harder to get out of, or you have to deal with other consequences and responsibilities that, you know, you can't really take back very easily. So attraction is not the priority. So if you're dating earlier on, if you're able to ask the hard questions sooner, the response the person is going to give you is going to determine kind of where they're at or how conscious they are with what they want, because a lot of people don't even know what they want yet. You know, they haven't gone through enough relationships to figure that out, or hardships in relationships, or they're bored and lonely and want someone to show them a good time or just have fun. And so that response is going to give you kind of your answer if you're looking for something serious, you know. And so those are things to kind of consider, basically. Otherwise, don't get kind of trapped into that too soon. But it always depends on what you're wanting, because it takes two people. If you're seeking only looks and attraction and physical attributes that make you feel good enough or kind of boost your own self-esteem because someone like that actually saw you as a potential or attractive enough to associate with, and you didn't actually get to know the person, or if they're just gonna use you, then that reflects upon yourself with your own self-worth and self-respect, you know. And so sometimes that's just a learning curve, and or just like, you know, those feelings. I've heard stories where, you know, like some of the most attractive, va-va-voom looking, they look like Miss Universe, you know. Sometimes they are sometimes the worst people because their intentions are to get someone who has a lot of money, and they can kind of impregnate themselves with this person, whether the other guy is married or not. And they're kind of financially secure with child support, and then they leave, and then they go find another one, like almost right after that, and have another child with another very financially stable person, even if she has a very financially lucrative job as well. Being able to recognize these patterns, not only in yourself, but in another person, like what is their intention behind it. And it's probably like based on fear of security, like losing security. And it's like their pattern of behavior of survival. And if that's not what you want, you have to make sure you have enough self-esteem to where you're not fooled by people who do that, you know, because it's going to create little butterflies in you, of like, oh my God, someone like that thinks I'm attractive or valuable or worthy, and someone like that is actually trying to be with me. And so, you know, hopefully you can start recognizing what true value is. And that always depends on each situation, because that does not mean that someone who is really good looking and attractive, or also makes a lot of money, mean that they're going to behave in a negative way or treat someone negatively. You always have to look at the whole person, not just that, like assuming. So I hope that made sense. And if you just joined, this should upload later on. Sometimes these things take a while to upload, and you can check back later, but this was just a random splurge. If you like things like this, I know I ramble on a lot, or I go off tangent, especially if I have to talk to myself on on a screen and not to another human being. But if you have any relationship questions, if I'm able to answer it, because that doesn't mean that I'm the expert in this, but I'm just another knowledge perspective that you can kind of gain for free on the internet, then leave a comment below on this video and see, I'll just like ask random questions. So more questions that I get, I know who's watching and what kind of questions that you have or what kind of problems you have, and it gives me something to feed off of. So that's my random video. My book is out on Amazon, so please check it out. Hopefully it's informative and kind of fun. It's in a storytelling kind of way. I'm not like the boring textbook style person. That's just not me. So yeah, check that out, and please subscribe and like this video, even if you joined super late. So yeah, okay, bye.